Hi, everybody. So welcome on stage. So, these few years after COVID, it seems that the climate changed a lot. So before COVID, particularly Hong Kong, we were somehow quite conservative. Traditional banking, swift payment, and up till now, we are still using cash on taxi. Okay, so but COVID changed our mindset. So the Hong Kong government start to promote electronic payment. Then we catching up the pace. But today we talk about Web3 festival, the event. So Web3. First of all, we have to define what Web3 is. Somebody said is digital payment, or decentralized payment. Somebody said, no, Web3 is different. Web3 is a new way we share information and value. So in such a case, the first question I would like to ask is that Web3 is something, regardless is about payment, regardless is about gaming, regardless is about sharing of value. So how can it change our lifestyle? How can it change our business? So if it is the way that we are going onward, then what will it be? So as the last panel said, I'm not talking about 3 years. What about in 1 year time? How Web3 will change the way how we do business and how our day-to-day life will be changed. So the ladies first, Amor.
So my name is Amor, and I'm the lead convener of the International Digital Economies Association. I just want to take this quick opportunity to thank Platon and also our co-founder, Mr. Paul Lee. So Web3, many of you who've stayed on is probably interested in one thing, which is how do we make more money from Web2 to Web3, right? I'm sure that's why you're still here at 5:30. Now, if there is a region where I think you should be looking at, it should be in the Southeast Asia area and Africa. The top 3 users for crypto is actually in our group and idea. So that would be the Philippines, that would be Vietnam, and that would be Nigeria. Now, later, and I think we have our colleague Steve here who will talk more about it, the most successful monetized project for Web3 actually emanated from the Philippines and has a direct correlation with Vietnam. So watch out for it. Last but not the least, I think there are so many opportunities in the underlying technology underneath Web3. For example, in ASEAN, we're looking at blockchain in the logistics space. Some of the most invested technologies in the last Exos in August was actually in logistics on-chain. So I'll just leave it at that for now.
In short, Web3 is something engaging the power of blockchain technology. And you mentioned about different countries. That means, in the past, we can only do business easily within one country or one city. But now, with the help of Web3, we can do cross-border much easier. We can change the way how we interact, right? So beautiful, Amor. So the hotline. So please introduce yourself and let us have your opinion.
I'm the co-chairman for the Digital Assets Association. I'll just share one use case whereby Web3 can make a difference in the digital economies. I was talking to my African partners recently and realized that actually Web3 payments can make a lot of difference in emerging countries like Africa. In advanced economies like Hong Kong, Singapore, we took digital payments for granted because the current digital payments are already very efficient, but in countries like Africa, whereby it is very hard for them to get a bank account, or they don't even trust their bank, or they don't even trust their national currencies. And when I introduced the concept of using stable coins to do remittance, they were amazed because they feel that this could really solve a real pain point to them, because just imagine for them to do a remittance is between 10 to 12% in fees. That is on top of the inconveniences because they don't have a bank account. They have to go to physical cash-in, cash-out point to to convert to on and off, to move their money around. But with Web3-based kind of payments, this could solve a lot of problems. It's not just faster, but it's also more convenient. Thanks.
So Web3 at the very beginning is somewhat like we can get some funding, from the individual investors, right? But now you're talking about it from quite a different aspect. So we are unleashing the power of those minorities, so that they can bypass the restriction, of open a bank account or follow the traditional system. So Web3 to you is somewhat like changing the game or the rules of the game, right? Good, thank you, Hotline. So Nicole, you flew all the way this morning to Hong Kong. So please introduce yourself and let us know. Can we use Web3, to bypass, our physical presence?
Thank you, Emil, and hi everyone. So I just touched down 2 hours ago from Thailand. So pretty much, I'm also here today to support IDEA, but also as the chance to meet a lot of the Web2 and Web3 thought leaders here. So to me, I'm the founder of Vietnam FinTech Festival, but my Web3 hat is with APAC DAO. So it's a Web3 builders community, and we have over 2,000 members in Southeast Asia. The same reason why I'm also share the same interest or the same excitement with Amor about Southeast Asia as well. So what I'm most excited about Web3, and I think pretty much there are two main things that I think it's two of the key narratives that I'm most excited about. So number one, I think it's more about composability and interoperability. So what I mentioned about that is not just like buzzword, but we've been able to come to a point where we can see that actually with whether it's Web2 or Web3, it's more about the use cases that you will be able to demonstrate and address some of the existing problems. So with Web3, it doesn't mean that you have to renovate the whole concept. And I also agree with Daniel from Banking Circle. He mentioned that it doesn't have to be just payment. Blockchain has so many interesting aspects or use cases that you can think about where you can deconstruct a lot of the payment process and features. For example, it's identity. It's about payment rails. It's also about, cash off-ramps in a lot of countries. So basically, we see an opportunity where we can bring Web3 into the process, not like a gigantic kind of overshadowing concept, but more like a component to improve the existing process, the existing businesses with a lot of the countries, especially in emerging industries. So we have mentioned about interoperability because, we don't see us as just a DGen community and staying away from the Web2 space anymore. We want to be able to interact and interject with as many Web2 products as possible. Number two, which I think is very interesting, is also about ownership. So again, one of our speakers today mentioned about how we can read, write, and own with Web3. So I think with ownership, the concept of using Web3 to have more ownership, especially as creators, to empower your product. And also the product here, it doesn't just stay with, I think entertainment is not just another meme coin project. We are talking about serious projects like education, also about decentralized projects, where we can actually fundraise from the community and also have the matching fund from a number of other projects in here. So we say that there's a lot of money in Web3, and where is the money going to? And I think that actually these days, a lot of them are going to public goods, which I think is a very interesting concept that we would like to advocate and see where the money can go to more meaningful places like education and decentralized projects.
Good. So the picture is a little bit clearer. So not only the minority will benefit from Web3, so the old system, which has a lot of deficiency, can be solved. The problem can be solved by using Web3, such as payment, you mentioned. So I think if we really have to apply Web3, to real world, it seems that it's limited only by our imagination. Am I right, David?
I hope so. Thank you for being here. My name is David. I'm coming to Web3 of a business point of view. I mean, financial things and banking things is really important, but I'm an international businessman since more than 10 years, and if I would have Web3 10 years ago, I wouldn't be here. So this has zillions of opportunities for all of business traders. This is a very fast world, and this world and trading system is growing very fast. And with the traditional tools, it's nearly impossible to follow. So that's why we need some innovation. And Web3 has a lot of benefits, let's say like smart contracting, which is trustable and trackable. And also with smart contracts, we can save a lot of time. And time is, I think, the most important for all of us, because that's how we can make more business and more money. Also, in this booming world, we have zillions of assets around the world, but we would like to connect somehow. But we need a new revolutionary platform to connect it on the way, which could be really fast and cost efficient. That's where the stablecoins are coming into the focus, for example, because this could be an real-time and real cost-effective connection between the digital business on the world. So what I am focusing on is that doing as many business we can, and I'm really waiting on Web3 because I know I will have more time. And if I save time right now, for example, I can go to visit Hong Kong more than I can.
So Web3 is somewhat like an vehicle that you can use, or a tool that you can do your business better, in your mind as a businessman, right? So I think we have to get the opinion from the investors' point of view. Steve, can you share with us? I think you invested quite a few Web3 projects. Let us know, how Web3 will change our day-to-day life or business.
Okay, thanks, Professor. So I'm Steve, general partner from YOLO Investments. We really look at fintech, which is Web 2, gaming, which is Web 2, Web 3, and then crypto, which is obviously Web 3. I think I want to talk from the perspective of opportunities. And I think if you look across the velocity of Web 3 right now, there's tremendous opportunities. But I think the opportunity for all the new entrepreneurs and everybody in the room is a lot of those are crap. There's a lot of bullshit out there. So if you got something real, then you can turn that speculation into use case. And those are where winners come from. I think what Web3, the first thing it provides is the lowest friction for speculation in both use cases and transaction fees. And if you, as an entrepreneur, can turn that hope and opportunity into something that's real and a real use case, those are great opportunities for entrepreneurs. And then I think there are specific examples for this particular cycle where communities, if you're able to build a community like everybody on this panel, there is value in that community. Look at Telegram and look at Ton. 800 million users and one of the top 5, top 10 tokens in the last few months. And there's so many native apps and native use cases that are exploding out of it, like @Wallet, like look at Notcoin, and look at Whale. These are opportunities that it's exploding out of the community that's been pre-built. Thank you.
Wow, so it's quite excited, is it? From the investor point of view, because investor, what's an investor? You have to invest something and look for the return, in a period of time. So usually when we are investing in the traditional market, like go IPO and get a share, so our way to analyze whether that product is good or bad is limited. But it seems that for Web3, because of the traceability, of the new information that being collected and disclosed, we might apply some new like AI or like big data, to help us, to make a better decision. So I think all of you believe that. So as long as we can apply Web3 properly, the future is positive, right? So moving on. So if Web3 is so useful, somehow there must be, we are not fully utilized Web3 at the moment. The only thing to me, not only about education, the only largest force is about the regulation, because the regulation was designed for the traditional finance. So usually has a lag. Somehow, some countries, if they move faster, maybe 6 months. Some countries, it can be 2, 3, 4 years. If the process takes longer, then some country might just stay away from it. So in such a case, can you share with us, about your opinion? So you might use one country, you might use, your association or whatsoever about the regulatory restriction, or is there any good example that some countries, they have roll out a good regime, to accommodate this change? Amor again.
Sure. Before I talk about the less sexy part, which is regulation, let's just add a little bit more to the sexy part, which is making money, right? Everyone says that it's the immigrants that get the job done, and that amounts to close to 858 billion US dollars in remittance, right? So just the little country where I spend most of my time in, which is the Philippines, constitutes around close to 35 to 40 billion US dollars. And why I'm saying this is because, corollary to what Steve said, which it creates the lowest possible friction. Imagine the opportunity if more of those in Web3 and crypto and blockchain would explore this untapped opportunity. So going to the regulation side, I want to give a shout out to two very important jurisdictions, and that would be Dubai and, of course, for me, Hong Kong. The International Digital Economies Association has chosen Hong Kong to be its home. So we are 30 countries strong, a combination of both fintech, digital asset leaders, and that, I'm just going to leave it at that. Of all the 30 countries you could be in, we chose to be here.
Yeah, because Hong Kong is a tax-free city, because Hong Kong is in the middle of Asia. So those are traditional advantages, still helping Hong Kong to be somehow the preferred headquarter of IDEA, right?
And the government support. I just have to say that.
Oh,
not
yeah.
just about the taxes, not just about the centrality, but the type of support we got from our partners and also from the government.
Yeah, exactly. So Web3, I do believe that, I think you all agree that Hong Kong is one of the few financial centers that they are embracing crypto. So in such a case, it is somehow is one of the place that IDEA is chosen. Okay, so the hotline. Don't you agree? And then what about Singapore?
Yeah, since Amor already spoke about Dubai and Hong Kong, since I'm from Singapore, I'll share about Singapore's approach. I always remember the phrase given by our former managing director of Monetary Authority of Singapore in 2016. He shared that regulation should not front-run innovation, which means that we should not be too eager to regulate a new activity when it comes up, but regulation should follow closely the development. That means while we don't front-run innovation, we should follow closely its development. And when the risk becomes material, then regulation will come in. But it should come in proportionately. That means you take a risk-based approach. You don't try to use a banking regulation to regulate, let's say, peer-to-peer lending or even crypto payments. So that's the whole philosophy that I think is one of the most important factors that attracted a lot of fintechs to set up their home in Singapore. And if you look at how Singapore approached crypto, right, it's also done in a similar manner. I think when we started regulating Web3, it started in 2020. So basically, we focus on preventing illicit activities. Basically, we only regulate crypto companies on any anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing. But over time, especially through all the crypto bull, there's a lot of speculation in the industry. So MAS started to evolve the regulation to start focusing on consumer protection. So that is how evolving regulation should be, that when the risk becomes material, suitable regulations to come in. And I think that's the way moving forward, because if you want to have more mass adoption of Web3, definitely a certain level of consumer protection should be there. So I think this is how Singapore taking a very pragmatic approach to regulate Web3. Thanks.
Yeah, there's to me quite a lot of lessons that we can learn from the Singapore approach. So I think if the other countries or the other financial center, we join forces and follow the same methodology, I think it's easier, to combat these illegal activities. Okay, beautiful. So how about Southeast Asia? Vietnam, and you just came back from Bangkok, there must be some activities in the southern part of Asia. Nicole.
So yes, I would like to tackle this, I think more from the startup perspective. So I guess, of course, we have some other countries which are very advanced in terms of regulatory framework. So we have Hong Kong, we have Dubai, Singapore, and Southeast Asia, on the other hand, of course, I mean, the regulatory framework is existent in some countries. But on the other hand, I think like what people are looking at Southeast Asia at this point, it's also more about user acquisition opportunities, as well as, I would call it, regulatory arbitrage opportunities. So let's say for Vietnam, for instance, crypto is in gray area. So technically, if you are not trying to do rug pull or scam people, you're still fine. Yeah. But Thailand, on the other hand, they are more strict with everything that you want to do with crypto. If you want to do an event, promotions, you need to have like a license, or you need to have partnership with a local partner. Indonesia, on the other hand, of course, the regulation is quite strict in terms of exchange and licenses. Basically, right now, the country has stopped issuing new licenses for the exchanges because basically, of course, there was just an election, of course. And of course, at the moment, the country, pretty much the exchange business is like the number one kind of business out there for crypto. So Philippines, obviously, of course, there's, capital tax gain already in place. But the country is also very innovative in how you can actually work with crypto from, telco business, e-commerce business, so all of the industries that are kind of interject with the consumer industry. So I think with Southeast Asia, and especially with Web3 companies, we don't see ourselves as a kind of a single entity anymore. We would have different operations hub. We would also go to where the opportunities amass. So regulation is one of the arbitrage opportunities that we are looking at. Operations costs and talents. So it does kind of has a very nice combination of where you will be able to kind of see where the regulations matter. So of course, if we are talking about Web3 payments, companies dealing with Web 2.5, Hong Kong, Singapore are definitely the place to go. If you're talking about the commerce, business industries, where you're talking about more about user acquisition, then Southeast Asia is on another hand, is a great operations hub. So to me, I think from a startup perspective, the regulatory landscape right now is pretty fluid, and it's up to where your target audience is and where your target business is. Then you will be able to kind of allocate your resources and also pick strategically where you want to station your business. So that's my point of view.
It's quite Web3, decentralization, right?
Decentralized.
Yeah, so while we are in Hong Kong, set up a company, but we have to eye on the customers, in Southeast Asia. The population size are bigger. A lot of people in the traditional way that Hong Kong and Singapore are our competitors because, if we have to do trading, for example, the customer can only trade with one place, because there's a one port, there's a one supplier. But by applying the Web3 smart contract and traceability whatsoever benefit, technically Singapore and Hong Kong can work together more closely rather than with a distance. So that's why Hotline is here in Hong Kong, and we are looking forward to fly over to Singapore and do more business, particularly serving the Southeast Asia. So here in Asia, now we have a guest flew all the way, from Europe, eastern part of Europe. So David, don't you agree with this concept? More collaborative or more conflict, with Web3?
About the regulation,
Yes,
I think we will be the best followers. But I'm really positive about it anyway. So let me tell you a number about stablecoin annual, euro-based stablecoin we are talking about. Annual volume, $90 million only. Why? Because regulation is missing. We are fighting for regulation, but I think then from all of us, I am coming from the most bureaucratic and regulated and strict area at the moment. And, but I have good news as well. So for example, on cryptocurrencies and stablecoin regulations, the European Banking Authority, the EBA, already settled the statement. And I have to cross my fingers, but hopefully, it's not a promise, but I trust, hopefully at June this year it will be signed. I think that's going to be a real big step. And just a little hint about, for example, KBC Bank, which is close to my heart because this is an owner of one of the Hungarian commercial bank, just launched that a new digital coin, the Kate coin, I think that's the name of it, which is started to be available. It's not a stable coin, but it's a digital currency for internal usage. So in regulation, we won't be the pioneers, I don't think so, but we are the perfect followers on that. But if we are talking about regulation on a decentralized platform, I think there should be more and more talking and discussion between the Web3 community and those who are working on the regulations. Maybe they need to, at the beginning it won't be easy, but maybe they need to be a bit more flexible because I don't believe, and that's my personal opinion, that a step-by-step regulation is working in a super fast growing area. It's an ecosystem which is booming. So that needs a real framework which we can use parallel as it's growing. And of course, it's not be the final solution, but this is a good start. And just one thing that I think that Hong Kong is a good basic for this. And I really appreciate that Hong Kong is standing behind this regulation process because Hong Kong is the financial center, accepted, followed by the region. And you have infrastructure background, you have the legal background, which can be improved for a new level, and also super talented people who can work on it.
Oh, interesting. So Hong Kong may be able to set the example together with Singapore and the rest of Asia. And once we set a framework, then you can pick up easily, okay? Beautiful. So we are looking forward to do business, in the Eastern Europe too. So Steve, can you do a wrap up, about what the regulatory issues?
So I think I'm going to be a little bit more controversial, but I think it's the Wild Wild West, and I think it's political. You can look across countries, which exchanges are banned, which exchanges are allowed, and you can look under, who's involved in what, okay? I think regulations really comes down to two key factors. One is protection for the consumers, protection for the suppliers. And the second component is taxes. So I think where it's going to lead to is all the offshore regulations, well, you make your own decisions on how valuable those are. I think it's almost like a central bank, like a banking scenario of where this regulation needs to go to. It needs to be, because the most important part of the regulation that people are looking for is actually the fiat on-ramps, okay? All of the rest of it is just cheap talk. What really matters is you as a consumer, do you have a direct banking rail to go online? So the regulation is kind of broken down into two parts. One, fiat onto crypto, and then what happens once you're on crypto, because then you're really offshore. So, is anybody really fulfilling all of those KPIs? I think we're still waiting to see, and so I think it's still a ways off.
Interesting to tell you, Hong Kong, unlike Singapore, have only one regulator on all fintech matter, or traditional or the Web3 matters. Hong Kong has at least 5 or technically 6 regulators, segregated their duties by the traditional products. And only in a couple of months ago, Hong Kong government decided that rather than allowing HKMA to regulate the on-ramp, off-ramp business, they allocated the Customs and Excise Department in Hong Kong. They have the because Customs, they can seize the go down or whatever. So in such a case, it's under the legalization process. So maybe Hungarian, can consider, to set up a special task force or whatever department, they overlooking this activity. On-ramp, off-ramp, to me, if it's carried out nicely, most on-off-ramp can be carried out here in Hong Kong as a so-called superconnector. So in the past, we connect the East and the West. And now we connect the virtual world to the physical world by applying, as what Steve just said, that might be the way that we can work even closer together. So we only have 9 minutes left. So I would like to ask the panelists to give us some takeaways. So now we are here in the Web3 Festival, and now we are taking part in this idea setup so that we can work closely together. So any particular thing you would like to share with us, for 1 minute or so. So
Okay.
More.
One thing I'd like you to take away is the idea of an ecosystem economy. In other words, not one ecosystem is necessarily superior over the other, and that is why we have set up the International Digital Economies Association. It's our birthday, and we are birthed in Hong Kong. This weekend is our birthday, and the reason for that is because all digital economy leaders need to share real-time information, best practices, mistakes, platforms, technologies. And if you want to connect to the most impactful digital economy leaders globally, talk to any of us because we're all part of IDEA. Maraming salamat. Thank you. Doche, Sheshe.
Yeah, good. So rather than compete to each other, we work much closer. Okay, that's the first takeaway. So the hotline, anything we can take away?
Yeah, since I'm all talking about IDEA, right? Maybe you can share a little bit about the genesis of IDEA, because we were talking to one another. Originally, we wanted to set up something on the Asia fintech, right? But she mentioned that actually not all countries are interested in fintech. Only those countries that are financial centers, right? It makes a lot of sense for them to focus on fintech. If you look at Singapore, a lot of the markets are not in Singapore. I would say that 4 out of 10 fintechs in ASEAN, in Southeast Asia, are based in Singapore, but they operate beyond Singapore. So I went to Thailand and I went to Philippines last year, spoke to many of the fintechs. 1 out of every 2 fintechs, right, they are operating in Thailand or in Philippines with their head office in Singapore. So you can see that the whole idea about IDEA is really not just about fintech, but other sectors of the economy. For example, like in countries like, for example, like Philippines, they have a very youthful population. Less than 50%, I mean more than 50% of the population less than 30 years old. And if you talk about Africa, more than 50% are less than 20 years old. So you can see the next 10 to 20 years, a lot of growth will be shifting over there. So the whole idea about IDEA is really about more than just fintech, about other economic sectors. So we want to be that platform that can bring many countries together, especially the emerging ones that need most help. Because ultimately what we are creating are public good. You don't have to pay to benefit from it, but I think it's necessary that some associations have to take the lead to set up this kind of association. It's a public good for the world. Thanks.
Great. So regardless what we do, particularly finance, finance will not create value on its own. So we have to think about the minorities. We have to think about, how to work together to create value. Am I right? So do you have, Nicole, have your opinion?
Of course. I think, well, pretty much, of course, Hoklai and Amor have shared or covered everything that idea is about. So I think from our side at this point, what I think some of the key takeaways would be, number one is think about the use case, not think about the tech. I see there's so many discrimination against, oh, you are a Web3, or you are a Web2 person. Eventually, I mean, basically what we want to do at the end of the day is about to offer like the relevant use cases to the audience. So I see so many products at this stage. It can be like a mix of different tech stacks, AI, blockchain, Web2, as long as it serves existing challenges. So I think we should kind of look at that more from the use case and the, the benefits for the users instead of the tech. That's number one. Number two is Asia, Southeast Asia are very diverse. We actually, with Web3, we kind of have got a shortcut to actually touch the audience and the community here with Web3 because we have some common language in Web3. It's about decentralization. It's about ownership, tokenization, so you name it. We actually have been able to kind of speak on the same language, to some extent. So I think the best part at this point, as Hoklai has mentioned, it's about how to actually define your strategic approaches with different markets, where you want to go, and talk to us to kind of map out what you want to do. And I think that by that way, we would be able to collaborate. And I think collaboration is inevitable. It's a must, I think especially with Web3. Given the discrepancy in terms of regulations and politics these days. So I see more opportunities in Web3 in that sense.
Yeah, think out of the box. Opportunities are there, okay? So, David, yeah, so please, your takeaway.
I will be short because I would like to let some time for Steve as well. So I truly believe in growing together and collaborating. And because I'm on an international trading and networking business field, I'm an international networking hobo, if I can say. Why I'm a little bit sad that I do not see too many ASEAN companies in Europe. We are friendly, and we have a trusted market field. So what we are working in Neuron, even connecting the ASEAN region and connecting the European market. 2 weeks ago, the Hungarian foreign trade minister was here in the region. I think he came to Hong Kong as well. And he had an interview about that Hungary is really supporting ASEAN companies. And we can be a great gateway into the European Union. I wouldn't say it's an easy rally because a different field, different mindset, different traditions are always interesting and challengeable. But please think more about Europe, and please be open for knowledge transfer and developing together, because this is where all of digital industry is booming. Thanks for the support later for Web3.
The world used to be flat. It's somehow now it is diverted. So we have to recreate this one world by Web3, right? Yeah, great. You can talk a little bit more than 1 minute because it is the last panel, okay?
I don't talk that much anyways, but I think the key thing on Web3, very different than Web2 or any other traditional businesses, is focus on the community. This is the one case where your community is a huge part of your valuation and your trajectory for even greater opportunities, okay? And then I think the key words to focus on as you look at business opportunities, the number one is reach. How do you use Web3 to reach more people? The second one is speed. How do you execute what you're trying to do as a function faster? And the third one is lower cost. Because as we discussed earlier, that's what Web3 kind of provides. Lower friction cost versus any other traditional mechanism. And then the sectors of opportunities that we look at, obviously games is all over the place. Lending, financial opportunities, distribution, as many said on this panel earlier, the unbanked in Southeast Asia, in Africa, in Latin America, is where those impacts can be made, from people in this room to people outside of this room through Web3. And the clock is counting down, so yeah.
Okay,
They said 40% of the crypto world will come from what they term low middle income economies. I resent that. We call ourselves instead the global majority. It's what Steve said, right? It's South America, it's us in Southeast Asia, and South Asia and Africa. So remember that. Global majority, not low middle income economies.
Right, the new community, the blue ocean. Thank you, thank you. So time's up. Oh.
Thank you all. Thanks for the insightful discussion. Okay, will you please remain on stage and let's take a group photo.